In this video, I'm going to show you guys a cool trick, which I think actually is very, very unique to Twitch when it comes to trading in lane. And I think he might actually be the only champion that has this ability. So, before we begin though, I hope you guys are having a good morning and lunch like that. And this actually dawned on me, even though I think about things unconsciously sometimes, and things happen. I'm a very generalized player, like I will generalize thing, I don't tend to remember timers. But Twitch actually has a hack. And I'm gonna let this play itself out, and hopefully we'll catch the drift. And then I'm gonna just show you guys how you can do this when you play yourself. Okay. So I recall here. I get back to lane.
If I was smart, what I would do, right?
Let's go to 22, 21. Yeah. So I'm in stealth right now, just to explain, right? And the cooldown of stealth only begins once I leave stealth, right?
Okay.
So now I can see it's on a 14-second cooldown.
Okay, so now I'm gonna run him down. Oh.
And now the clip's gonna explain itself.
If I was smart, what I would do right now is look at yasuo window CD, compare it to my QCD, and then know my window. But instead, I'm gonna just fucking flip it. And I fucked it.
Yeah, so since Twitch is actually one of the few champions that kind of decides when the enemy will use the spells, as they're not very likely to use the spells, especially defensive ones, such as Braum Shield, Yasuo, Wind Wall, and others that you might find frustrating to play against, some of them tend to have a longer CD, right? And timing these CDs without any sort of like relevancy, such as being able to compare it to one of your own abilities, because looking at game time, say Blitzcrank hooks at 11 minutes, then it's very hard to be like, okay, 11:20 is going to have a hook back up again, right? And thinking about this constantly, looking up at the timer, checking it, it's much easier to be able to compare it to something, such an ability on your ability bar, right? Or hopper, whatever you want to call it. So Twitch leaves stealth, the time begins. Yasuo uses Wind Wall, and now we can see there was a 14-second cooldown, right? And Yasuo Wind Wall, I think, is something like 20-25, because this is actually very important. So when you leave your stealth, this is important, I will explain why. So when you leave your stealth, the time begins. So we can assume maybe like a second window before they will use a spell, which means you have 13 seconds, right? And then say Yasuo use Wind Wall, you have 13 seconds on your Q to come back up again, which means your next ability to like go in is 13 seconds. He uses Wind Wall, say it's 20 seconds. That means you have a 7-second window, right? But what that requires is that you press stealth immediately, right? And then you have to go in almost immediately. So to like rough this up, you have about like 1-2 seconds, right, that you have to like subtract from that downtime, because you have to go to stealth, you have to move away, maybe move up to them. So even though you had 7 seconds originally, you now have 5. 5-second window where you can just like all in them. And if a champion has something like Braum Shield, I think it's 15, 18 or something, so the window is smaller again, you have to take this into consideration that it might not actually be long enough for you to be able to do something, right? But certain champions such as Yasuo, this is actually very good to know. And how you can do this is by going into, say, Professor when you're in a game, right? So we can see Band here, you can hover over him, and you can see he has no like basic abilities that has a cooldown. So we can look here at Twitch as well, just for reference, right? So his Q has a 16-second cooldown. So what we're looking for is any cooldown, basic one, that is greater than 16. We can take a look at Fizz, 16, so it's going to be equals. Every time you go into stealth, you open on Fizz, he's going to have his E back up, right? Not very special. Same thing with Set, his E. W, 2-second window, but again, because you have to go stealth, you have to do everything, it's not really enough. So you kind of need an ability, like here, Darius is an example, right? You can stealth, go up, he will use his E, you can retreat, wait for your Q to come back up again, and then he's not going to have E for the second time. But of course, you're not very often going to be laning against Darius, so it might actually be hard to pull this off, because you want to, in lane, it's more like you can go in, then you can pull back out again, you can reset, then look for a new trading window. And I've talked about this in regards to Cogmore and other things, but I just really wanted to bring this up and highlight the importance of the ability to be able to just look at your own ability bar and use one of your own cooldowns as a reference point, because it's basically just a countdown, right? So I think if you can utilize this properly in certain matchups, it's going to make it a lot easier. And yasuo being actually one of the ones that will become the easiest ones in comparison to if you don't think about this. So my advice, especially in yasuo matchup, is to pay attention to his wind wall, right? If he wind walls after you come out of stealth, just retreat, and then you stealth, and then you go back again. No, he's not going to have wind wall for the next time. So you want to minimize the damage you take in the first trade, because the first trade is just about trading cooldowns, and then the second trade is going to be the all-in, right? So that is it. It became a bit longer than I wanted, but again, I think it's necessary to cover every angle here. But again, just very useful. You can look at Sirius, as an example, E 24 seconds. If E was an ability you didn't want to deal with, yeah, you'd have a big window, right? 16 seconds versus 24. Then you have 8 seconds and like a 6-second window where you want to be like guaranteed, right? So just keep this in mind. Any ability above like 24, 25, then you're getting to the point where you can do a lot, right? And Syndra, I think, also has the same thing with her E. And she's going to throw the ball and everything. So then by the time she's used her Q ball and like E, like the already be like a 3-second window maybe gone. So then you have 13 seconds, she has 18. So then you have the 5-second, then you have like a 3-second window after on the next one. But yeah, I'm going to end it here because I can go on forever. But yeah, this is actually a really cool trick. And I think if you play Twitch, this is actually something very useful to keep in mind. So yeah, hope you guys continue to go on like that. And take care. Peace.